Alright.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. We haven't had our coffee yet.
Oh, that's what we're having now, right? Cheers.
Well,
Yeah.
It's too early for this.
It's 10:30.
Like I said, it's too early. It's Sinful Sunday. I'm supposed to be able to sleep in.
Nah, crypto never sleeps.
It really doesn't. So, welcome back to First on the Block. Crypto and coffee. Sorry, I'm picking stuff up that I've dropped previously. I'm a mess in the mornings. Yeah. So.
Alright. So yeah, another exciting day in blockchain as everything continues to go crazy.
So exciting.
Oh yeah, so exciting. So exciting.
I'm just tired, that's all.
Yeah, she's always tired. Yeah.
We're always awake.
Again, crypto never sleeps. Have you not learned this by now? We function on a 365-day clock.
Look. Okay, just saying, when you invited me for crypto, I thought it had to do with the cemeteries. I was really excited.
Yeah, that's not the case at all.
No, it's not.
All right, so, there's all kinds of news going on in the space. We've got a couple of new updates about the project that we were talking to you guys about last time, but to kind of get started, one kind of interesting thing that's going on is Binance and the Binance US that's coming out. I don't know, how do you feel about that whole thing? You know, with the fact that now they're implementing KYC, which has become a fairly standardized thing, you know, in the crypto space in general. But at the same time,
it's asking for a lot of really personal information.
Yeah.
And with informational leaks from the past, it's I'm a little torn.
Yeah, I mean, I feel very much the same, just due to the fact that where there's definitely I see the need for it. I see that as crypto continues to evolve and things continue to move forward, we need to get to this balance where we can bring crypto more into the light. We can have less of this anonymous black market feel to it. And so I see why, but at the same time, one of the things that really has always bugged me about crypto exchanges is that they don't use the very security intrinsic to the actual cryptocurrencies that they trade in. Which I've never really understood. It's you have these exchanges that seem to be very pro blockchain. They're very forward on the technology, but they don't use any of the technology themselves.
Right. Why is that?
I don't really know. I do know that there was a couple of exchanges in the early days that did, and those typically were the DEXs, the decentralized exchanges. And some of those were really cool. They they allowed for direct peer-to-peer trading. They used the full, my favorite was Ether Delta, used full encryption. And those were actually very heavily demonized by the various government institutions.
Right.
And ended up being largely shut down due to a couple of reasons. First of all, you had government regulators that were coming in and were trying to shut them down. Due to suspicious trading activity, which, in all honesty, now that we actually see how, how these different trades work, and there's a bit more transparency in the whole market in general, was really found to be kind of debunked. And then the second side of it that really shut down was typically just due to lag time, since we do see in peer-to-peer blockchain transactions, we've seen a lot of these traditional systems have really slow lag time. So you place your order, it doesn't go through for 10 seconds. The prices have changed, and you may end up with some fluctuation in price back and forth.
Hi, Doge Lord.
Hello, Doge. Great to have you back with us again. Pleasure having you here last time. For those just joining, we were just kind of talking about Binance US, what's kind of going on in the space of exchanges, and kind of our opinions on the implementation of blockchain protocol to traditional exchanges to be able to heighten their security and make people who are more intrinsically a part of the crypto community feel safer in divulging very private information for KYC and AML purposes. Since though Binance, I will say this, they they've been great about the fact that when they have had security breaches and they have had hacks, they have really they've really been transparent about it. They've really been open about it. They've never tried to hide anything like what we had happen with Bittrex in 2017. But at the same time, it's like, okay, it's great they're honest about it. At the same time, I still don't really want to give them my social security number.
Right. That's where I was like,
yeah,
it's a little, they tell you don't divulge this information over the phone or over the interwebs. The interwebs.
Yeah. What up, Doge Lord? Yeah, definitely good having you here. Do me a favor, actually, pull up. We had someone on our Facebook last week that asked a very interesting question I wanted to cover. Go ahead and pull that up for us, if you don't mind.
I do mind. You're confusing me.
Well,
I get confused as well.
Our wonderful host, ladies and gentlemen.
Nah.
Yeah, so go ahead and pull up our business page. Slight technical difficulties, please bear with us. In the meantime,
it's human error.
while we're pulling all this up, please feel free to ask us any questions, and we will get right around to answering those. We are always super excited to be able to answer any questions that you guys have, talk about anything, or just if you want to say hi, then reach out and poke us. Poke us with a stick.
Make sure you sharpen it first.
Where is?
I don't know.
I think it's over to my personal page, maybe.
Right, quite possibly.
Sorry, guys. We're trying. We're still kind of getting this whole stream thing figured out. We finally got us up on Facebook and YouTube. We're over on Twitch, and we're trying to get listed on LinkedIn. If you guys didn't know about this, LinkedIn is actually just now opening up the ability to do live videos. If you haven't checked that out, definitely do. And also get on there and nominate KingRoyal Industries for one of their live streaming positions, as you have to apply for those still, which is always so much fun. Here it is. Okay, so that's not what I want. No,
it's gonna pull.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll just turn that volume down and see if we can find it. But
Probably
first, again, sorry guys.
Turn that down. No.
Meantime, switch back over to real quick. Let's check and make sure we don't have any comments.
Well, okay.
They can just tap.
Because it's not showing us the actual comments from the video.
Right. Well, here.
Last time. You play with it.
1 second here, people. We're working on it.
This is really unfair. So we have these beautiful crepes in front of us. I feel like that well-trained dog that can't eat.
Yeah. So here, I found it. So last week, Aiden Crossman asked central bank digital currency, or CBDCs. If already covered or not, please feel relevant to pass. So this is actually a really, really good point. It's one that I was very excited when I saw this comment on here.
Right.
Because the CBDCs, or the central bank digital currencies, is a what they're talking about. They're essentially talking about stable coins, which, as you know, we have talked extensively about in the past, and we are very, very dedicated towards trying to bring transparency in the stablecoin space. And the CBDCs are stablecoins that would be regulated by central banking agencies. And we saw the very first one of these that really was coming out and was being talked about was the one that the Chinese state bank, or whatever you call it, was coming out with. And it is a fully cryptographic currency, but it's on a private network that is solely owned and operated by the Central Bank of China, and operates as a native fiat currency. So far, at least my understanding, it can't be used outside of China itself yet.
Right.
But within China, it can operate essentially the same as their own fiat currency.
Nice.
Having spoken to several people from the area, I do know that already a large portion of their currency is digital. However, they've operated on the same kind of standard that we've had here with U.S. Like debtors credit almost.
Right.
Where it's simply, ledgers kept between banks. This will actually standardize it, create a digital ledger where all this information can be stored, and, make sure there's less kind of, things that can work fraud and stuff like that
Right.
happen.
Keep it more honest.
Right. And a narrative that's starting to come out in this space that is interesting, but in my opinion, also somewhat dangerous, is the narrative between what is better. Is a decentralized crypto asset better, or is a CBDC, the better way to go?
Right.
And I think that, that kind of, you're covering two very different topics there, because, when we talk about fully decentralized assets, something like Bitcoin, that's a very different style of asset than a fiat currency, and it's used for a very different things. So, I mean, what are your kind of opinions on just the argument and how it's forming up?
I really haven't formed a complete, because I mean I haven't how would you say, like,
Delve.
I haven't delved deep enough into it to form a one-sided opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I'm still kind of looking at.
Right. Well, and I mean, it kind of gets into that. It gets into the argument of, what's better? Is it better to have a decentralized asset where no one controls it, no one owns it,
Right.
But at the same time, no one regulates it and no one can protect the people who use it?
Right.
Or is it better to have a system in which there is a series of checks and balances to ensure that no one is going to get the short end of the stick? But at the same time, you are sacrificing privacy, and you're also sacrificing autonomy.
And that's the thing. It's like, okay, half the reason why people like it is because of the privacy.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, the ability
you
to,
don't necessarily need to know who I am, and it's
right. Or I mean, even down to the fact of you talk about just having a basic Visa card with a bank, and if you want to spend over a certain amount of money, you got to call and essentially ask permission to spend your own money.
Spend your own money, right?
And so the autonomy is another thing I think a lot of people find very important
Right.
about the decentralized assets. That you really kind of lose once you start talking about the more centralized,
Right.
security-based
Well,
assets.
I mean,
even if you're not trying to hide anything, even if you're totally,
traditional banking. I mean, I'm sorry, I actually fell into this this last week with the fraud on my credit card. Okay, I'm supposed to be set up where I get a phone call if over so much is spent. Now, they called me for gassing up when I was moving up here. From Southern California. I literally was gassing up in the middle of my run up here, and I got called for spending $50 at a gas station in the middle of California. I live in this state.
Right.
Shouldn't be an issue. Yet this last week, $873.81 was spent on my card in Georgia. And I didn't hear about it for 2 days. Nobody called me. It was, that's part of the protection that I'm supposed to have in a bank, right?
Right.
But yet it didn't happen.
Right, and I mean,
fraud happens all the time.
It does, and I mean, and that's the other side of it is that where you are, the beautiful thing about a decentralized asset is that you are essentially your own bank. You have full control.
Right.
The detriment of it is that you are your own bank, so you have full control. But that does mean that in the case of something like that, you can take immediate action. You can see what's going on in real time. I mean, if somebody's using my Crypto.com card, for instance, and I see that, I'm the one that can click the button to stop that charge from going through right when it happens, because I can see all that information in real time. There isn't any delay. There isn't that 2-day waiting period or anything like that.
Well, exactly, and that was my issue. Was that I wasn't notified like I was supposed to be. And I couldn't stop it right then and there.
Yeah.
And then I had to wait 10 days to get credited back, which I'm still waiting on.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And so, I think that the argument there, it really comes down to, what people will feel safer with. And it's, do you feel more self-assured in your own ability, or do you feel more self-assured in having somebody to, I guess, babysit you?
Right. Doge says, depends on the code, who wrote it, and for what nefarious purposes.
That's always, I mean, that's very true. Is that,
nefarious.
well, yeah, I mean, yeah, good use, but like, it's true though. It's like, a lot of these systems, they do have a lot of malicious code written in.
People don't care about privacy. They will sacrifice privacy for convenience. You know what? I do find that more and more true these days.
No, that's extremely true. But see, that's why, something that I would bring to this argument is the fact that, people always go the polarized opposites. They either have full decentralization or they have, full centralized control.
Right.
There is a middle ground to that. And that's, when we start talking about something more where, you have decentralized, that's the far, Bitcoin side. You have centralized, that's the CBDCs. And then you have the middle ground, and the middle ground is something like a distributed system, something that still uses the decentralized checks and balances that we're associating with Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of these other large-scale protocols. And exactly, that is so true. I hadn't thought about it in quite those words, but that is
not your keys, not your money.
Yes. Thank you, Doge Lord. Yeah, very true, very true. But yeah, and so that's where a distributed system can really come into play, because then for people who are unsure of themselves, or they or they do want to see those more the convenience, just as Doge Lord was saying, where it's convenience over privacy.
Right.
They still have that, but at the same time, you still have that sense of control, that sense of autonomy, where you can take action outside of what the central control scheme is.
Right.
And that's a great example would be Crypto.com. Where that is in truth a centralized system. I mean, they hold the keys. You do not have access to your own private keys, which is one thing I don't like quite as much about that.
No, I wouldn't want people holding. I mean, that's why we're trying to get away from traditional banks.
Right, exactly.
I don't want people holding my money hostage.
Right, but at the same time, if I see charges that I don't like or something like that, I have, they also have their own, fraud department, monitoring and all that. But I also, at the same time, have the ability to go in there and stop those kind of things myself as well. That's a little bit more in the middle.
Sorry, Daniel. What coin would Jesus buy?
Quite frankly, crown. Not to toot my own horn, but yes, I'm tooting my own horn. Yes.
Doge says Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is always good. And actually, what I would say is I'd say one the use case very much, because I love Bitcoin. I really do. Bitcoin is an amazing system. It's what found this whole thing. It created a whole new layer of economics, and kind of was founded the trust economic model that we talk about all the time. And it was amazing. But the technology, unfortunately, has not advanced as much as I wish that it would. And that's primarily because at this point now, there's a lot of politics that have gotten added to Bitcoin. It's very, these systems started out very much, they were purely technology based. It was, does it work, does it not work? Now we have, continuous bickering. I mean, we have the infamous, fights between Roger Ver and Craig Wright and all those other guys.
Put them in a ring with boxing gloves.
Honestly, it would be hilarious. And, not taking one side or another, but there's a lot of dissension, in how that, has developed. And, the other thing also is that, Bitcoin is very much meant as a prototype, when it started out. It was meant to be an example of what could be done, but not necessarily the be-all, end-all. And I do think it makes a great store of value. I think that it's a system that, especially as we approach, the next halving and things like that, we are going to continue to see its use as a store of value grow. But I don't necessarily see its use as much as a currency or as a use case asset, since the blocks are too small to hold enough data to really be, smart, really, really useful to the same level that, let's say, Ethereum or even something like Neo is as a smart contract builder. And it also doesn't have, the transaction speed of, let's say, something like, Dash or Litecoin even, or, actually Dogecoin. It doesn't have the transaction capacity.
Doge says, and if Jesus has the sense of humor we all know he does, Dogecoin.
Yes. Well, I mean, and also, like, it's kind of like what we talked about a little bit last week, is that, like, as much as Dogecoin is this funny meme, it actually works, which I'm not sure if it makes it more or less ridiculous. Honestly, like...
it's...
Yeah. Doge, much good, much wow. Oh, jeez. It's funny. But yeah, so that's why, like, I really think that, the future of, I do not necessarily think this is the future of blockchain or crypto, but the future of finance, I think, is going to come down to distributed assets over centralized or decentralized. Because yes, I absolutely agree that people will pretty much always sacrifice privacy for convenience. At the same time, there's still a big enough outcry, as we've seen with the massive adoption of crypto, of people that, though, that are still highly value a sense of autonomy and a sense of privacy.
Right.
And so,
which I find funny, because I mean, what I see on social media with everybody is like you're putting everything out there,
which is very true. But yeah, and I think that it's going to be really important moving forward to look at how these different systems are going to come out and are going to be able to walk this very thin line between centralization and decentralization to produce an asset that provides a level of the trusted economic value without sacrificing the convenience or economy of the more traditional financial entities. Yes, that is very true. And actually, I've even used it that way myself.
You know what? Yeah, I know. I did see that Dogecoin does sponsor a NASCAR.
Yes.
It was kind of exciting to see.
Yeah, it really is. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is that Dogecoin, it has the higher transactional volume. It is a transparent, decentralized project, and it actually does tend to have more stabilized value because it has a very easy to determine realization of its value. I mean, we know what it does,
right?
And that's something where like and even with something like Ethereum, I love Ethereum. It's one of my favorites. I love the protocol that they're building, but due to the fact that their protocol is still only partway built, it does lead to a huge amount of speculation on it, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I've made my money on speculation. I've done a lot of trading. But it does mean that, it's not a reliable asset to use to say I'm going to pay my bills with it. I mean, it's not.
You can actually follow the trends in Dogecoin and know what moves will happen in Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a very large parallel there. And actually, it's interesting. There's a closer parallel I've noticed between Dogecoin and Bitcoin than there is between Bitcoin and Ethereum. Which, I mean, they always run a fairly standard, run, but Dogecoin does seem to move a little bit faster. And that's due to a couple of things, obviously. I mean, obviously, you have lower price, which means that things are easier to move back and forth. Right. But you also just have the fact that because people use it, they use it as a vehicle to move money between those other two assets. Right. The movement will hit Dogecoin before it hits Ethereum as people funnel it from one to the other. But yeah, any other thoughts on that topic there?
I think I want some Dogecoin. Sorry, I've been going through a lot of the apparel. I really have. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, still looking to those adult onesies. Most friendly U.S. state crypto devs and startups.
That's a very interesting question, and that's one that actually there's been a huge amount of debate on right here in our office. So it really depends on what you consider friendly. If you're talking about the state that has the most well-defined laws around crypto, New York. If you're talking about a state where you want to actually be able to start a crypto company, anywhere but New York. Like anywhere. Yeah, so like we have like obviously Wyoming, they've come out very recently as being very, very strong, around blockchain. Even the WYO Bank, which is their state sponsored bank, is switching over to be a blockchain bank, which is great. On the other side, if you go to Wyoming's state website, it is an unsecured HTTP only website. Like, they have zero security. Like, we were actually talking when we were doing the reformatting for our company to launch the Crown Network. We were actually looking to potentially reincorporate in Wyoming. No way. No.
No, not with the site that it has.
Yeah, I mean, and I love it because actually on their state website, there's a whole section of their website that actually is talking about their dedication to cybersecurity, and they don't have like basic HTTPS on their website. And then like you talk about like if you want to talk about taxes though, Nevada hands down the best because they straight up just said, okay, cryptocurrency assets are not a taxable asset in the state of Nevada.
Literally the only exciting thing about Wyoming.
I don't know. I like Wyoming. I mean,
Never been.
I'm old school cowboy culture. I mean, it's beautiful up there. It rains a lot, and you can go chase cattle.
I can definitely do the rain.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, a lot of rolling hills, great place. But their cybersecurity on their state website sucks. And then so yeah, you talk Nevada is great for the taxes. And then, I mean, the other notable mention I'd have in there, I don't necessarily say that it's a great crypto place, or two notable mentions. First would be Illinois, who back in 2016, they started actually sponsoring, like blockchain, alternatives, for, data systems.
Okay.
They haven't necessarily implemented any yet, but they do still actively fund those research labs.
Right.
I think because they're being overly cautious, but they keep attempting to implement it in the automotive industry as, that's a very central thing there, Chicago rolling iron. It's mainly because a lot of the countries they deal with, because they ship a massive amount overseas back and forth to Asia, especially to acquire the parts to do these cars.
Right.
And so, a lot of those countries, they are using things like VeChain, these different crypto-based supply chain systems. And so they're trying to integrate some of that. The other one I'd say would be Arizona, as they are currently operating these massive incubators for blockchain companies where they'll waive it so you don't have to get all of your licensing done right away. You don't have to get, whatever certificates or anything like that for 2 years. They'll cover you as long as you give them a monthly report and you're only doing business in Arizona.
Okay.
So they're being very cautious about it, but they're essentially saying if you really are trying to do something, we'll give you some leniency so you can try to get it off the ground because there is so much, stuff in these laws where, things are just changing so quickly. They kind of give you a little bit of a shelter. And so I think that's another good notable mention. And then one that, they haven't actually implemented anything, but I've been really liking is actually, Idaho, where it was, Senator or Congressman Mike Crapo, who came out with some really, really positive stuff about blockchain, talking about how we really need to be at the forefront of this. We need to stop putting in legislation that's very prohibitive against it. And so that's a really exciting development. And I know he's actively campaigning for Idaho to become a crypto-friendly state, but that's still far in the work.
Well, maybe they'll get their shit together.
I mean, there's always hope, right?
Yeah.
We have any other questions?
You have comments.
Always love the comments. Why is the coffee bubbling?
That might be because I have cream in mine. Sorry. Gotta preserve the stomach lining with the amounts that I drink. You've seen my big cup.
I've seen it. It's the size of your head. Slightly larger.
Literally,
yeah, it is.
Okay. As an industry insider out here, the amount of mining stations being constructed out here is wacky.
That's true, and I mean that's one thing I'll say. And this doesn't really have anything to do with crypto friendly because many people, even though mining is technically a regulated industry now, it's not at all.
Why is that?
That's actually because most people at this point, in order to escape that, they mine Monero. They mine a coin that is truly a privacy coin. I mean, there's a lot of people talk about, cryptos being this like dark underground thing and nobody knowing anything. That's not true. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, all these things, they're totally above ground. They're totally transparent. You can look back and see every transaction. And actually, we are going to talk about some very interesting transactions that have been happening on the Bitcoin network very soon.
Sorry. I just realized that Daniel said, hey, now the mafia has principles at least.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. But then, like you look at something like Monero. Monero is it's your black ops covert coin, where, it has multiple transactions, many of which are, essentially falsified specifically to mislead and to make it as anonymous as possible. And so you have these, big groups that are doing these big mining, organizations. And that's the reason why Monero, it's actually interesting because Monero, it appeals to a very small sect of people. It appeals to people who are intentionally looking for a way to obfuscate funds. But then you look at the hash power on the Monero network, and there's the way, and this is a good thing to remember here, is that the miners that have come out to be able to mine Bitcoin and Litecoin and things like it are much more powerful than the GPU miners that are used to mine things like Monero. But if you actually look per capita number of machines on the Monero network, it vastly outnumbers Bitcoin at this point. And people don't use Monero that much. I mean, most people go on exchanges and immediately sell it.
Well, how come they have?
Because, the reason for that is because even though, only people that really want to stay private actually use Monero, the reason so many people mine it is because when that government entity says, comes in and says, well, this is regulated, you need to be reporting all this stuff, you can literally hand them a paper that's full of scrambled data and say, good luck.
Oh.
I mean, honestly, it is a little shady, but that's what it is.
It is a little shady. Crypto in politics is a bit sketchy. Voting for the political candidate based on one part of their campaign is no bueno. No point in putting a pro-crypto politician into office if they want to turn America into the next Nazi Germany or
I absolutely agree with that, and that's actually a very good point. So we do, we have had several, people in politics that are coming out very strongly, very strongly for blockchain.
Right.
I wish I could remember his name. If anyone can remind me of the name, there's a presidential candidate actually right now that's running. I believe his first name is Alexander.
I don't remember any of this stuff because I haven't been reading up on anything outside of what we're doing.
Right. Well, it is interesting. It's the first Chinese American citizen that's running for president, and he has come out as very pro blockchain, and I love that. But we do need to be cautious because yes, thank you, Alexander Lang. And yeah, so we have had many pro blockchain people coming out in the space.
Hamilton?
No.
Yes, my note says he's into blockchain.
Yeah, no, I know. But so yeah, and we've had a number of people. I mean, we have Mike Crapo-Sender from Idaho. We've had several people within Congressional House have been coming out for it. It's been very, very big.
Hashtag Yang Gang.
And it's very exciting to see. But we do have to be cautious about it as well because crypto has become such a big popular buzzword. It's become a thing that people talk about as just more of a trending topic,
right?
Which is somewhat dangerous because it means that you do have people that will use that, slap the blockchain logo on there just to be able to get attention,
right?
But in reality, they have no idea what they're doing. That being said,
what was it? I decided to go on Instagram and put in the tag crypto. And all the different hashtags, and it's hilarious because I put in cryptocurrency, which is the one that, popped up first, and I booped on it, and pictures that came up had nothing to do with anything blockchain, crypto,
right. Well, and that's the thing is, it's become a
one was a girl in a bikini just laying on the beach.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, blockchain has become such a buzzword now that's literally just used to be able to, get views.
Doge, stock market, and flashbacks.
Yeah, pretty much. And so yeah, so that's the only thing though. Like I do personally, I really did like Yang's proposal for blockchain voting.
Right.
Now I do think that there's a lot of work that needs to go into that because we saw a tried and failed system of that happen in the Ukraine already.
Right.
Um,
Adding blockchain.
Right, exactly. It is.
It's stock price. Yes.
It's a big shiny sticker that you can put on it to make people go, "Ooh, wow! It's blockchain. It's so progressive. It's so fancy. It's so modern. So yada 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 yada."
If I have an old car, I should slap that sticker on.
Right, exactly.
Make it look fancy.
Yeah, and that's the thing is you see projects all the time that horribly misrepresent blockchain, horribly misuse blockchain. And they don't know what it actually can do, and they implement a pseudo layer of it. We see the same thing happening in AI right now a lot too. Where people slap a AI logo on machine learning, if that, and call it the next generation of technology. And so it's definitely a big issue.
Right.
But just quick back to Andrew Yang's proposal. I do think that it's very fascinating what he's talking about with blockchain voting. We have already seen
the gluten-free finance.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Here, we're going to slap this logo on it, charge 3 times as much for it, and it does nothing.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, so we did see the Ukraine a couple of years ago. They tried to implement a blockchain voting structure, and it did fail.
Right.
And it failed because, quite frankly, the technology is not there yet because they were using a proof of work system. And where proof of work is an amazing way, really it fueled blockchain adoption. I mean, I myself, it was one of the most fascinating things. Really, I can, add some code to my computer and make it so it can produce money. That's amazing. And it really has. It's been great for being able to fuel, early stage adoption.
Right.
Proof of work is horribly flawed, though, if you talk about wanting to run a system that's truly impervious to manipulation.
Sorry, adding blockchain to the name won't polish a turd. Thank you for that, Doge.
Yeah, unfortunately, so often it does, though, in the eyes of many people, and that's one of the worst things about it.
The audience laughing. Sorry. We need a button for that. Those laugh track.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
Filmed in front of a live studio audience. But yeah, and so I really think that what we need to come up with a truly isolated, proof of stake system in which it can very, very clearly and in a transparent way, be able to show that there is no, repeat votes happening, things like that. But also, that's where you get into the really big complication with that is that you have to do that without opening the other side of it, which is allowing, people's individual votes to be actually tracked, which obviously you can't allow. So, it's a huge technical issue. It's one that I don't necessarily think, at least from hearing, Yang's original proposal, that he really has figured out. He knows it should be done, but he doesn't really know how to do it. And quite frankly, neither do I. I mean, it's a very complicated issue.
We'll figure it out.
Well, first I got to do, I got to take on stablecoins before we can take on voting. But, it is a very complicated issue, but it's one that I do think, is important to the future of the industry. But yeah.
Oh, laugh tracking. I should totally do that. Only if I get to tell more jokes, because I enjoy.
Get on the jokes.
I enjoy sarcasm. That's what I'm armed with every day.
Yeah.
Coffee, lipstick, and sarcasm.
I was hiding behind some crypto. And prodigious amounts of caffeine, but not always from coffee.
No, you introduced me to those damn focus aids.
Yeah. They were tasty.
This stuff is like crack. You feel really intelligent for a little while, and then you crash hard and turn into a bird. Oh, sorry. I need to be censored.
Oh man, but yeah. So you have any other thoughts on that, or should we move on to the next?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Do you see what I have to put up with here? I'm all over here trying to run a professional company, trying to look all slick.
And I wear shirts that say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look what I have to work with here. This is ridiculous.
Oh, I make it fun. I'm the funny guy. We like to laugh.
Fine.
Thank you for your vote of confidence.
I have no confidence in this. bored myself.
Hey, I did a website.
Yeah, actually, that is everybody. Go check out the website. Also, for anyone who is interested, we have just recently we've got our website up and running. We've got things over there. We'd love to have you guys go check it out. If you do go check it out, please, if you have any, questions, comments, even criticisms, we want to hear what you guys think. We're trying to build this out for the public, for the people.
Yes, Doge. Yes, I can agree with that. I run off CCS, Coffee, Crypto, and Sarcasm.
Yes.
I can get on that page.
Yes. But yeah, go over, check it out. Let us know what you think. And, if you do have any constructive criticisms for us, we're also happy to put you up. We're putting together kind of a contributors wall, people who are, supporting what we're doing here. We'll, be happy to give you a shout out on there as well.
You're faster at it than I am.
What
Link,
are we doing?
please.
Oh, yes. 1 moment.
Plus, I want to eat.
Entertainment.
You can watch me stuff my face.
That's not what this channel is.
Oh, no, I get paid for that channel. I am completely inappropriate. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, hi there, Matt. How's it going? Thank you for joining us today. Good to have you here. We're just kind of talking about the latest of what's going on in the crypto space, and I'm being tortured by this one.
He caught me on one of my good days.
Did I though? Did I? That's bad for all of us.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
We still need to do one of these in the cemetery.
Yeah, tune in for a special episode in which we're going to be talking crypto and coffee while sitting on headstones.
As long as we're not stepping on them.
Fair enough.
Cannot be disrespectful to the dead.
Bring out your dead.
Bring out your dead. I'm not dead yet.
Not quite dead yet.
I think I'm feeling better.
Whack.
All right, so yeah, we just on my account we just blasted up.
Yeah, so definitely Crypto Goth just shared over the link to our website. Check it out and let us know. Yeah, let us know what you guys think, and we'll put you up on our
We're still working
notable
on it.
contributors wall if you'd like to be there.
Oh, I got a feedback from a friend of the family.
Oh, fantastic.
And he is into the shenanigans of the crypto world.
Ah, lovely.
Yeah, he likes to try to discuss it with me all the time.
Fantastic. Well, invite him on here. Let's have a couple of guests.
He doesn't do social media.
Oh.
He finds it disgusting.
Oh. All right. Well, anyway, moving on for our next topic. We got 2 more things to cover here for today. Next we have... Anybody out there heard about those massive Bitcoin transactions that have been going on? Have you heard about those?
Which ones?
Over the course of the past couple of days, there has literally been over $1 billion in Bitcoin has all been consolidated down into one central wallet, making it the second biggest wallet in blockchain, or not blockchain, but in the Bitcoin space. Aside from obviously Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yeah.
Satoshi Nakamoto. And there is there's some dissent over what was actually going on with these transactions. Now, the most popular theory right now is that this is backed. And for those who don't know what backed is a blockchain system that's being built to be able to offer almost like not quite ETFs, not quite futures, but more of a hybridized new style version of those built off of first Bitcoin, and then they're thinking about adding in additional currencies as well. Yes, gotta love. Hey, the most reliable trading chart ever is the Bart Simpson hit.
I like the way you put that. The ones that spike shit up and spike shit down, Bart Simpson style.
Well, it is. I've shown you that chart where, literally people just Photoshop Bart Simpson's head into the trade bureau because it looks exactly like it. Anyway, though. No, I'm not just talking about trading price, though. And I'm not talking about, trades being made in large amounts of Bitcoin. I'm talking about over 90,000 Bitcoin all being taken and put into one wallet, not traded back and forth, not put onto exchanges, but put into a wallet that actually doesn't have a public tag on it. So it's not necessarily the backed wallet itself.
Right.
Now, the fact that Bakkt did announce, like right as this started happening, that they had opened their network. Now, that does not mean that their network is available for actually doing the future ETF style trades on yet. What that means is they've opened it so that their large scale investors, their big depositors, can put their money into it, can put everything in, so that at the end of the month they can be the very first to actually make use of Bakkt's trading system. They've opened those wallets to allow people to put that in. Now, those wallets are not publicly listed, so there's a good chance that what people are assuming right now is that all these really big whales are taking that and they're actually putting all that down into that central wallet in order to prepare for these ETF style trades. And yeah,
It's a test.
yeah, it very well may be test, but I mean, $1 billion test is one hell of a test.
Yeah, it really is.
And this will make it. Currently, this is aiming to be the largest single financial move in the history of blockchain so far. And it's going to be really interesting to see. I mean, first of all, if Bakkt does confirm the rumors that this is them, then this means that they have now built a public trading system that will have larger leverage over the crypto space than pretty much any other comparable system. Which is, I like Bakkt. I like the team they're putting together. It does concern me a little bit that decentralized asset like Bitcoin is being so heavily centralized. Though, I mean, 90,000 Bitcoin, there's 20 million of them that are going to be out there. Right now, there's 18 that are actually circulating.
Right.
So, it's not the hugest amount, but, it is something to look into,
right.
Especially because, let's say that this is Bakkt's first system. They've been working very, very hard. Yes, that is very true. That is very true, Judge Lord.
$1 trillion gains.
Yeah, and that's what, we're kind of looking at here. I will say that this means that it's going to be very imperative to look forward in the crypto space, because if they stay with the system that they are currently that they're currently trying to pretend, where they're really trying to be very very open, very transparent, then that will be a great thing. But that much money it very easily leads to corruption in the system, where they do have closed control over it and they can move things around at their own discretion. So, it's going to be a good one to keep an eye on. And, obviously this may not be Bakkt at all either. This may just be, pure, some group of giant whales that are consolidating down for, their next run or whatever. I mean, people are really, really heavily centralizing right now as they prepare for the next happening.
Do what big money does, not what big money says.
Exactly. That's always a good strategy to follow. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think about those big, movements that are going on right now.
Shoot us a DM.
Yeah, they are very, very interesting. Another one actually that I only heard about this today. I know it's been going on for a couple of days now, but I only heard about it today, and I thought it was brilliant. Is there's some rumors right now about a group that's trying to manipulate the price of Bitcoin by doing informational manipulation on Google Analytics, which is brilliant.
Where's that coming out of again?
So it's Romania. And so we don't actually know, and this may just be that suddenly the entire population of Romania has decided that Bitcoin is fascinating and they're looking it up on Google all day long. But more realistically, there's a group, maybe in Romania, may not be, just using the VPN for masking, that...
Sorry.
Yeah, so there's been all these searches coming out of Romania, though, because many of these big, these big hedge funds, these big investment funds that are trading in blockchain, have been using Google Analytics as a way of being able to determine what the market trend and popularity of these different currencies is. So, I mean, this is a very old thing. It's been being done for a long, long time. But now what we're seeing all of these extra Bitcoin searches that are coming out of Romania to just kind of artificially inflate what it looks like on Google Analytics. And so there's almost like price manipulation happening purely based on that. And it's very interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. At the same time, I just think it's kind of brilliant that they found a way to like manipulate the price without actually having to, be with the whale or trade in big volume.
Right.
It's very funny to me. What do you think of that whole situation?
I was just looking through the mail. I mean, I don't know, the whole manipulation thing to boost anything. I mean,
Well,
it kind of sucks because it's I've fallen for the false advertisement before, and to go out there and be one of those big investors that goes through and looks and says like, oh, a lot of people are searching this up. This is going to be great, and then to sink.
Right. I mean, to be fair, like the reason I don't feel it's so bad is because it's like you have so like the little casual investors, right. Mom and pop people put in a little bit of money. They typically are not advanced enough to be looking through all that stuff.
Right.
It's the people that have the big trading bots up where they have the trading bot auto go through and do all that, and those people, they're asking for it. They're straight up like they're willing to play that game, so I don't feel as bad for them.
He says modern problems require modern solutions.
It's very, very true. But the thing the reason why I'm not too upset about it is it's like, okay, yes, they are, they're finding a way to essentially manipulate this. But the only people they're manipulating are all the people that are trying to manipulate everybody, which it doesn't really affect the little guy.
Right.
So yeah, I'm okay with that. So yeah, have any other news you'd like to talk about?
Actually, I was actually going to go back onto the Facebook comments were because you said there was more than one question? Or
I think that was the only major one there.
Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, please do, if you have any questions, if you have anything you'd like us to cover on this page, please, let us know in the comments.